Track wrestling here in Fort Lauderdale at the South Beach Duels on the eve of the event with Cornell coach Rob Koll, one of the architects of this event, I think. What do you see this thing becoming in 5 years? We're in year 2 now.
I have absolutely no idea. You know, I thought National Duels would take off and grow, and it's no longer, so I hope it keeps growing. I mean, although I don't really care, it doesn't need to be any bigger. We get the teams we want to wrestle, and the high school events are really probably where it's going to pick up. You're not ever going to have every college team here. You've got too many tournaments that are entrenched, and within the coaches' kind of mentalities, they want those 7-8 matches. So they probably could get that here if they really wanted to. With the matches after the session, they have matches for the extra guys you bring, or you have your starters wrestling as well. No, I think it'll stay pretty consistent. You know, it's a long way for some people to come, so we'll probably have a limited number of teams that are going to end up coming.
You're a big proponent of duels, if I'm not mistaken, and college wrestling really doesn't have that big duel tournament right now. Could this become, would you like to see this someday become a bracketed or a pool type of deal with a champion crown?
I think you'd have to have some certain caveats built into it. So for instance, Lehigh's here. I don't want to wrestle Lehigh first round or second round. So you split them, and then when you go into the consolations, maybe you figure out, once you lose, then you kick it. And I was thinking about this the other day, how you can architect, you know, build it. You know, if you lose, then you go back and you pick out who you want to wrestle, as opposed to us wrestling 3 teams that we've already wrestled during the year. Because it's kind of neat, we get to wrestle North Dakota, Wyoming, and Missouri, and Indiana. We don't see any of those guys. I love the National Duels, that format, because otherwise, you know, Penn State, Iowa, they won't wrestle us, so how the heck else are we going to get a chance to see those schools? And that's why I love the ability to prove yourself in a tournament setting. But yeah, I think it could grow that way, but you have to see the coach would have to have some kind of consensus.
You guys came down and rented out a I think 9-bedroom place last year, and you stayed down for like a week afterward, maybe. What's the plan this year?
Well, that year it was more than 9. It was a massive house. This year we're going to stay till the first. We're going to drive up to Orlando, train up there. We've got one of our wrestlers, his father helped us out, got Disney tickets, so we're going to go. You know, hey, 5 to 50, 5 to 90. You still like that place, so we'll get some good training up there and just see a little different part of the country.
What has the first half of the season been like for you? You've had some moving parts in the lineup. How close are you to getting what you'll have for the stretch run together?
Who knows? I mean, we have pretty much the team that we have now is probably going to be the team that has the stretch run, but there'll be a couple weights that are still in flux. And there's always injuries, so who knows what's going to happen. But having Vito down at 25 is obviously, you know, completely changes our team, because you don't just put a good wrestler in there, you put a nationally competitive wrestler in there. And that's where ultimately those are where all the points are coming from, not the guys who go to nationals, but the guys who place and score bonus points.
What went into that decision? Was that him? Was that somebody on the coaching staff? How did that how'd that one come together?
That wasn't his decision. You know, he likes 33, but he would weigh out after practice 32. You know, when 33 is like, Vito, you know, just miss a couple meals and you're there, and he went down the first time, which was a pretty tough cut, but he's fine. He's fine, and he looks even better this weekend. So I think you're going to see a pretty impressive Vito Ruger.
What do you think of him that first time out against Northern Iowa?
Well, the kid he wrestled, Schramm's a really good kid, so it's not like he just stepped out and wrestled some average wrestler. And I knew he was very good on bottom. I'm sorry, very, very good on top. Figured he'd handle him on his feet, which is exactly how it played out. And then ultimately, should have just kept cutting him. Probably could have taken him down 5 or 6 times more, but he's really good on top. So I mean, Vito's really good on top. So he didn't want to do that. This will be interesting. He'll get a couple hours. You know, you'll see him more of a tournament, even though it's a 1-hour weigh-in. But then you have the extra match. You'll see more of what he's going to look like in the tournaments.
Yianni, a year ago, you were talking at this thing a year ago about, if I'm not mistaken, something along the lines of how hasn't he racked up, you know, hundreds of parking tickets outside the Cornell complex there for all the hours that he spends in it. How difficult was it to tighten the reins on him maybe in the rehab process and keep him from maybe doing too much too fast?
Well, I think he did rack up hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in the parking department. Yeah, he's very obedient. That was not a problem at all. It wasn't a problem at all. The problem was he healed so quickly. You know, he's a young kid. He's 18, 19-year-old kids. They heal as quickly as you sew them up. And so he was ready to go. He really probably could have gone a month and a half earlier, but the doctor didn't clear him, and so he was good about that. That wasn't as big a problem as you might think.
Of all the things you've seen in your coaching career, where does that rank? A guy that beats the guys that he beat in the quarters, semis, and finals. Guys of that caliber on a torn
guess
ACL.
If I didn't know him, I would have been impressed. But since I see him every day in the room, it became an expectation. So it's hard for me to say that I was overly impressed, even though I know I should be. And it would be more impressive if I didn't expect it. But the expectation was that he wins the national championship. So the fact that he did it, I guess I don't truly. Maybe I don't truly appreciate it. I don't mean to be unthankful for having Yianni. He's obviously the greatest kid in the world. But as far as I look back and try to gauge where that would fall, I mean, his accomplishment is phenomenal. But he was a two-time junior world champion or cadet world champion. So the expectation was for him to win. When someone like Travis Lee from Hawaii comes and wins a national championship, or David Hirsch, who was a one-time New York State place winner, those I don't want to diminish some of the accomplishments kids have had in the past, or Jordan Lean from Tennessee, for God's sakes. There weren't two national champs from Tennessee, or Brandon Womack for an All-American from Alabama. So, a lot of it is the expectation that goes into it, as far as how I look at that and my perception of the accomplishment itself.
Speaking of incredible accomplishments, Kyle Dake running through the World Championships, no points allowed, and we talked a little bit about him and Yianni last year. Both being true freshmen at 141 pounds. But you look at those guys. How would you compare and contrast those guys?
They're very similar. They come from similar kind of fathers who are both their high school coaches. Both very obedient kids who they want to please. Disciplined beyond reasonable as far as their diets and how they train. Kyle is certainly a more explosive athlete. Yianni was technically ahead of him at this point, and Yianni's ahead of most people at this point anywhere. Yianni has some different body. His body is a little different as far as he's got a different type of length. Although Kyle has great length, Kyle has better explosiveness. Yianni has a little bit better reach. So they have the physical tools that are just unique to their. Not many wrestlers can do the things that Yianni or Kyle do. The other thing is they work so hard. I don't want to diminish their accomplishments or give their physical attributes too much credit, because what they've done in the room is what made those tools work.
What did you think when Kyle first started getting into functional patterns?
I mean, it's just Kyle's always chasing the next best thing to make himself better. He really does. He takes a very scientific approach to it. Whether it helps him or doesn't help him, it certainly doesn't hurt him. And so I'm a fan of that, and I've supported him in every manner, and we have some of our kids doing it now as well. The verdict's out. We'll see where it is. I mean, it's certainly not bad. I mean, it's people have asked me if it's still strength training, and it's not like he goes in there and meditates. And I think people get the wrong idea. If you see some of the drills and some of the workouts Kyle does, they're pretty intense. So to that end, I'm all in.
Probably the important thing is that he's all in on it. He believes in it, right? I mean, I would think no matter what you're doing, as long as there's a buy-in and you believe it makes you better, that's a big part of the equation.
Oh yeah, I mean, unless you're out smoking and drinking and trying to convince yourself that makes you better. This is not anything negative to what he's doing, so it's certainly different in that regard. And as I said, he's working on explosiveness, he's working on range of motion, core strength, balance. I mean, those are all good things. Whether it's something you want to do for a football player who's trying to put on mass, and his argument would be, it's going to make him a better athlete. I just don't know enough, to be honest, to say to gauge it or to judge it one way or the other.
What's been the best revelation so far for your team this year?
I don't know if we have really had a revelation so far this year. I think we have pretty much what has been expected. We are always going to have a good team. We recruit hard. The kids work hard, and they work consistently all through the season. It's not a 9-month season. It's 365 days out of the year. And when you have those types of kids working like that, you're going to get growth. And hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll be a better team, and we can stay healthy, because that's obviously the most important part.
Speaking of that, you lost Ben Darmstadt beginning of the year. What's his status? Where's he at in the recovery process?
So he went, I think he had his last x-ray, came back, everything looked a lot better. Then the pain's gone, but we don't want to push it. I mean, could we rush him back and try to do it? Maybe, but we have got Ben Hannes here, and Ben actually beat him out. Ben Hannes beat Ben Darmison out last year, so Ben's really competitive at the national level. It's not like he can't be an All-American. Ben Darmison scores more points, pin points, because he pins everybody, so that's a huge difference. But I'm just really thankful that we're not going to be wasting a year with either of those guys.